for that. Right, shall we get on and get this first one started while it's working?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of CJ's Racing World. My name is Ian Davies and I'm anchoring this event. But let's get straight over to the star of the production, Miss CJ Racing UK. CJ, welcome to your own show. How are you?
Yeah. I've been better. Thank you. How are you?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Are you okay to continue? Are you sure you're ready to do this?
As long as you can understand me, I'm all good.
I can understand you perfectly well. Perfectly well. Okay, right. We're going to crack on with our schedule. It's our first show, so if you're listening either live or to the recording, please bear with us because we're both new to this platform, but we can only get better. Right. So the first item is CJ's Racing Week, but you've been in Rhodes most of the week, haven't you?
I've been in sunny roads, catching germs and eating too much food, so no racing for me. Last time I went was last Saturday at Newmarket, July course.
Fair enough. And so, as it's the first week, we'll count that as part of your racing week. So, tell us about Newmarket last Saturday. How did it go?
Yeah, it went good. We saw David Minucier. Not we didn't see David Minucier driving the van, but we saw David Minucier's horse box on the M11, and as you know, the rules are back the first horse box that you see, and he had two horses running, and they both won. So against one of the horses I had already backed in the last, but come out on top. So always a positive when you come out on top. It was also a cowboy and line dancing country music evening, which was quite funny to see people dressed up. I obviously wasn't dressed up. One of the stewards said, "Did you know it was cowboy and country night?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Didn't fancy dressing up?" I said, "No." And yeah, so it looked quite a fun evening. Not for me, but maybe for others.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, basically, you saw David Minucier's horse box onto the way to the racecourse, and that resulted in you backing two winners. I
Yeah.
hope anybody who completely buries themselves in sectional times, wind speeds, speed figures, collateral form lines, and trainers' RTFs realizes that what they actually need to be doing is keeping an eye out for any horse boxes on the way to the track. So that's cracking. I love that. And you got criticised, did you, for not dressing for the theme?
I wouldn't say criticised. I mean, the stewards at Jockey Club tracks are always really friendly, and they often come and speak. And obviously, because I wasn't dressed up, they were like, "You're not dressed up." As I was leaving, one of the stewards actually said, "You're not staying for the line dancing," and I said, "No." And he said, "Take me home with you."
No words. I have, not for the first time in our friendship, and probably not the last, I have no words. Okay, moving swiftly on. Are we done with Newmarket? Is that the highlights of the Newmarket July course that particular Saturday evening?
That was it. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll crack on to our next subject, as promised on the advanced menu, CJ's Hot Topics. So, have you got a hot topic about
Um,
racing or loosely related to racing that
I
you'd
mean,
like to talk about?
yeah, loosely related to horses, I suppose. Yeah, not so much racing. Is this dressage uh, show jumper? I don't know. I can't pronounce her name.
I'm
Charlotte.
I'm going to have a stab at, because I've never heard of her, Charlotte Dujardin, perhaps, as in
Yeah,
of the garden or something. I mean, I don't watch
yeah,
sport.
that one. Anyway,
That one,
yeah.
her, yeah, yeah.
um, just it's been revealed about her making an error of judgment, mistreating a horse when she's so high up in this sport, representing us in the Olympics. Not anymore, but she was representing us in the Olympics. And just thinking that I love how she said it was an error of judgment, and that it doesn't reflect her, like that's the way that she normally is. She invites everyone to believe that it was totally out of character, and also says that she was deeply ashamed. But the video that was put out was 4 years ago, so she's been deeply ashamed for 4 years, and I believe that they've just caught her bang to rights, mistreating an animal. I'm very cynical that that's an isolated incident, and even if it is an isolated incident, it's not acceptable. And it just goes to show what so many of these people who are associated with horses, what they think of them. Really, they seem to treat them like second-hand cars, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have to say, I share your cynicism. I think quite a few people do. She's inviting us to believe, as you say, that this was a complete one-off, and it's a pure coincidence that by pure bad luck, the only error of judgment she's ever made happened to be captured on video. That's a bit. It stretches credulity to believe that, doesn't it? The other thing is. I mean, some people have tried to sort of attack the motives of the person who's released the video, and the timing of it just seemed to be calculated to do the maximum damage. But it doesn't alter the fact that it's authentic video. She's not denied it, and I agree with you. I mean, in horse racing, I mean, I'm a punter, and I just I don't have a lot of involvement with what goes on in yards, and I'm sure there's a lot of very good treatment of horses. But I think there's an element in racing that just treat them, as you say, a bit like sort of, they just think of them as livestock. They don't really think of them as sentient beings, and they treat them like used cars. They're disposable incomes, disposable, commodities. So yeah, I agree with you, and I can't really have any sympathy for her really. So yeah, I would agree with that. Have you got anything more thoughts on that subject, or shall we move on?
I think we should move on. I think we've said enough now.
I think we have. I think we have. So the next item, and also we want to save your voice, otherwise you'll be no good for next week. Right, so CJ's best bets. Now, obviously, these aren't tips. This isn't a tipping show. People aren't obliged to follow you in. But I gather you've got three horses for tomorrow, two at Ascot and one at York. I think we'll
Mm.
do them in meeting order, if that's okay with you. So we'll go to Ascot first. And which is your first bet on the Ascot card on King George's Day?
So I've backed Summergand, 25 to 1 in the 3 o'clock race. Saw him at Newmarket in the Bunbury Cup become third. He always seems to turn up on these big days, big prices, and always runs well. He got 7 furlongs really well at Newmarket, so I don't think the 7 at Ascot will be bothering him really. So that's my first each way bet that I've done. Done Luxembourg in the King George. Saw him win the Coronation Cup at Epsom. So he's stablemate of August Rodin. And August Rodin, I just don't think he's reliable. He's run some shockers, hasn't he? Last 9 races, he's run maybe 3 shockers, I think. Obviously, Aidan O'Brien's going to be trying his best with every single horse that he's got there. They're going to be running for their life. So maybe Ryan Moore picked the wrong one. We'll see. 12 to 1 I got. So I think he'll run at that big price. And my last one at York is in the York Stakes. Horse won it last year. Massive fan of the horse. I think he's a talented 5-year-old. He was 4th in the Prince of Wales Royal Ascot, and he ran really well. I think he'll be fitter for that run, and I think he'll have a great chance. He receives £3 from Passenger. Like I said, he won the race last year. I remember watching it on the screen on King George Day on Hook and One. So I am on Alf Layla. I think 9-4 I got, which is that's only a short field, I think. But yeah, anyway, they're my 3 bets for tomorrow. Treble for me right there, I think.
Fantastic. So just to summarise and go through them quickly. So at Ascot, we've got Summergand in the 3 o'clock, the international handicap. And I had a look at the prices just before we came on air, and he's still a bit of 25-1 kicking about. And he's not much bigger on the machine, on Betfair Exchange. I think it was 21 to 27 to small money. And some bookmakers will be offering extended places. So if anyone wants to follow CJ in and back the horse each way, as you say, he always seems to turn up in these big races, and he seems to be coming into himself. Then in the King George, 12-1 Luxembourg is the best I've seen. I think it's still 12-1 in a place. I think it's when I looked before we came on air, it was 12-1 with Bet365. If you can get on with them, and as you rightly say, they're all trying. I mean, it is no surprise for Aidan O'Brien to win a big race with his second or even third string. So yeah, that's an interesting one. And Alf Layla at York won the race last year. I saw a little bit of 5-2 yesterday, but I think he's generally 9-4 now. And cracking stuff. So good luck with those. Right, moving on to our last item for our inaugural broadcast, which is CJ answers your racing questions. Now, CJ's passed on 5 questions she's received to me. And so we'll go through them one by one. The first 2, I think, are slightly related, but we'll deal with them separately. And I feel I did quite a bit of impressive research here because hitherto I wasn't really familiar with. I gather there was a television show called Snog, Marry, Avoid on BBC Radio 3. Can't say I've ever watched it, but the question CJ's had, and we're going to keep our questioners anonymous to protect the innocent, or not so innocent. And so what the questioner asks of CJ is racing edition, snog, marry, and avoid. So I guess I have to ask you, who would you snog?
I don't want to get in trouble by answering the snoggle.
Okay.
So I think I'll
Okay.
leave. I think I'll leave that as a no comment.
Okay, right. No comment. All right, I can neither confirm nor deny that, officer. That's fine. And yes, discretion. I admire your discretion there. Right, marry. Who would you marry?
I was thinking about this long and hard, and I was thinking who's the richest person in racing.
Well, I always thought that was you. You're not short of a few quid.
In which case, I'll marry me.
Okay, well, that would be an interesting ceremony. Still, where we are in 2024, and the honeymoon might be even more interesting. Moving swiftly on. This is another thorny subject. Avoid. Is there anyone you'd want to name who you'd avoid?
I mean, I've met mostly nice people in racing, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
So I think I don't really want to say anything. If you can't say anything nice, then just don't say anything.
absolutely, absolutely. That's what my granny used to say to me. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Or, let your silence be your most damning critique. Or, no reply is a reply, as they say.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, so the second question, which isn't entirely dissimilar, is who's the nicest person or people you met in racing, and who were the not so pleasant people you've met in racing? So, what do you want to do with that one?
Well, I mean, I can answer the nicest for sure. Who would I say? I would say Fergal O'Brien, and his social media manager, Dr. Simon. They've always supported me. Well, probably since I joined Twitter. Actually, I've followed them. They're always inviting to the yard. I've gone there every time I'm up Cheltenham Way, and that they sprung to mind straight away when I thought of nice people in racing, and obviously Jim Crowley. Can't do this podcast without mentioning Jim, can we? So Jim has always stopped for a photo whenever I've nagged him. He's always been nice with the Christmas appeal. So yeah, those two are the first two that come to mind when I think of nice people in racing, and not so pleasant people. Again, I just don't see any positive in mentioning anyone in a bad light, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I've never met Fergal O'Brien, but he seems a genial bloke. He's certainly a very good trainer. I've got to give a big up to that fella Simon who does the social media. He's one of the very few people in horse racing who I would describe as having what I would call a genuine contemporary and progressive sense of humour. Got a lot of time for him. Best social media of any stable by a distance for me, and that reflects a lot of credit on him. Interesting your pronunciation of Jim Crowley, because hitherto I'd taken the Ozzy Osbourne, Mr. Crowley heavy metal hit approach to pronouncing that name, but is it actually Crowley, not Crowley then?
I believe it's Crowley. I mean, I used to say it wrong as well. I believe somebody asked him, "Is it Crowley or is it Crowley?" And he said Crowley. So, if you think about how it's spelt, then it kind of makes sense.
It's his name. He can pronounce it any way he likes, and he can ask other
Exactly.
people to pronounce it any way he likes. I definitely hear him there. Okay, so it might be Crowley for blokes who got caught up in witchcraft in the 19th century, but it's Crowley for Jim. That's fantastic. Right, moving on. Question 3. This is less contentious. A follower asks, "What, CJ, are your top 3 racecourses?"
Uh, I mean, in order, I I would say Kempton third, just because it's the first track I ever went to. It was 5 minutes away from where I used to live. Um, and I think it's really accessible. I think a jockey club track, the staff there are really welcoming. Whenever I've had food there, it's been really good. So yeah, I just think you can't beat it really, especially on King George Boxing Day. Number 2 would be Ascot because, well, it's probably the most famous track in the world, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, everyone knows Royal Ascot. Just associated with summer and great race days and the view of the grandstand, and that you can't beat that anywhere. But number 1 is 100% Goodwood. Um, it's down the road from me now. Uh, and the views of the South Downs, it's the best views, in my opinion, in the UK. And I just associate that with just having great days there at Glorious Goodwood because it always falls around my birthday. So I'm always there at that meeting. It's my favourite meeting of the year. So yeah, that's my top 3.
Fantastic. Well, I think those are 3 cracking choices. Yeah, I share your fondness for Kempton, and we might come onto that with question 5. Ascot, like you say, I mean, it's one of the most famous racecourses in the world. It's absolutely brilliant. And Goodwood, well, I've never seen a more on a sunny day. I've never seen a more beautiful racecourse than Goodwood. So that's absolutely fantastic. Right, question 4 is, um, what was your most memorable race day?
Um, my most memorable race day was a year ago this Monday, King George 2023, because my favourite horse that was in training at that time won, and I was on, obviously. And I told everyone that he was going to win. Come back from injury to win that race was incredible, and to be there to witness that with Jim on board was amazing for me. Yeah, I can't think of any other race days that are going to top that, actually. It was Hookham winning the King George last year.
Fantastic. Okie dokie. Yeah, that was a cracking day. Right. Question 5, the final question. A little bit linked to the earlier one.
Yeah.
Which racecourse, opinion, CJ, does the best food and has the friendliest staff?
We've spent many an evening at Kempton, and I've got to say Kempton. From the desk people to the owners and trainers to the bookies, like everywhere. The whole track is just full of friendly people. They talk to you. Like, although Newmarket's becoming quite favourable to me because they're really friendly. I mean, they're both jockey club tracks, but Brighton, I've been to recently, and the stewards there were really nice and chatty, and had a conversation with one there a couple of weeks ago, and he was really nice. But the food for me has to be Kempton. I'm sure there's other people that are going to say there's a lot better out there, but for me, it's Kempton.
Yeah, I also like Kempton Park, and I agree with you. You know, from the minute you arrive at Kempton, the staff are just so friendly and so polite. From the moment you arrive to the moment you leave, and the food is very nice at Kempton. It's a cracking racecourse, and it's a bit of a perennial. And as of course you just say, it's very close to your heart because I think it's the first place you ever went racing, was it?
Yes, it's my home track, if you like. Everyone's got a home football team or a football team that's close to where they are now. But my home track is Kempton Park. That's where I grew up, so that's the first place I went to.
Fantastic. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, especially while you've still got a voice. I actually think you've done extremely well because you were not a well bunny earlier in the day.
No.
You've staged a miraculous Lazarus-like recovery in order to be able to do this. If you've tuned in live or you're listening to the recording, thank you very much for doing so. I hope you've enjoyed it on some level. We will hope to try and improve standards week on week. We're both new to using this platform, but CJ, who's more technical than I am, has worked wonders to be able to host it. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll look forward to hopefully having your company again next time. But I will leave the last word, traditionally, with a bit of old school chivalry to the lady herself.
Well, thank you for listening, and good night.